Hello, Buster. How are you doing, my friend? Cosmic Rosary. Hello, hello, hello. God, it has been a while. When was the last time you were here? I want to say it's at least been several months. I read that wrong then. I thought Rosary was like, yeah, I've been playing Minecraft for the past while. But no, I hope you're both doing well. So yesterday I was meant to be doing a Bambi reading stream here. Unfortunately, I was very sick, so I did not get to do it. However, we're doing that tonight. Just having a nice, chill evening. It is 3 minutes past 9 UK time. Yeah, thank you, Commodore. I didn't know that until I went on OBS. We've all changed, Cosmic Rosary, ever since Atlanta. Anyway, we don't talk about that event. We don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. I swear, you bring it up, I'm gonna fucking dent your head in it, mate. But no, I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone's having a good time. No, Commodore, thank you so much for the anniversary. Yeah, I didn't know that until I went on OBS and it said, oh, you can do the. Hang on, how do you do the thingy? You can share the love in chat by sending this little hat. And it's like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a thing. But hey, we're having a nice chill evening reading Bambi then. And I think that's a nice way to spend an anniversary. Unless I'm wrong, in which case, fuck you. But also, don't do that, because this is meant to be a nice, relaxing evening where no one's fucking anyone. We're just having a nice time reading Bambi. Also, I'm playing Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explore the Sky as well at the moment. But I am currently in the process of playing that. Oh, they only did one stream this week. No, like I cut my hair. Okay. Got my braces and all. I see. Everything's been played. Have I been? It's a very loaded question, Rosary. It all goes back to the day I was born, when my parents failed to show up. They said I would be a true man, except they didn't, because they were not there. Oh well. No, but it's a loaded question. I had a very British dinner last night of fish and chips. When you say chips, do you mean like what the Yanks would call a fry, or a steak cut chip? What the Brits would call. There's a very distinct distinction between them. That's why it's called a distinction. No, I hope you're enjoying your new haircut, Rosary. I hope your braces are going okay. Yeah. What do you call chips? Based. Mega based. Mods. Ban that guy. Then unban him. Then mod him. And then ban him again. And then... Okay, dude. I'm glad you got that reference. I'm glad you got the Doofenshmirtz reference. It all started on the day of my actual birth, when my parents failed to show up. My parents made me become a lawn. Yeah, I'm really glad someone got that reference. Yeah, I've been feeling kind of weird. I'm glad to be doing more regular streaming again. I have a urge to do more acting stuff lately. But overall I'm in a mixed place in life, in a bit of a transitionary period, though. I guess every moment of life is a transitioning period in a way. Unfortunately, the flow of time never stops, much like this babbling brook behind me. Is this a brook? I'm not sure. Either way, life goes on. Life Goes On reminds me, that was like one of the ending things for Gundam Seed, and I saw the Gundam Seed movie last year. It wasn't like... It's one of those films where it's not good, but holy shit, it's a really fun film. It's not like a... It's just so camp. and knows what it is and what it wants to do. I'm like, you know what? I love it. It's a great film. Man, Phineas and Ferb was goated. It was the best. Yeah, what a great show. Lovely show. Yeah. Dr. Doofenshmirtz easily one. I have an interesting. Okay, Dr. Doofenshmirtz is kind of like warped my entire perception of like evil scientist characters now. Like, I think like Dr. Eggman and Sonic the Hedgehog, right? And I always think this guy should be way more bumbling of an idiot, but he's not. Sometimes. Also, the fact that he's failed in like all of his attempts to defeat Sonic, or they've all gone awry eventually. It's like this guy's not a threat. He's just so unthreatening. I can't be here for long, so I'll disappear to your Discord. No worries, Rosary, no worries. Yeah. I think every evil scientist now should be like a weird bumbling fool eventually if they keep losing. Like Dr. Wily and Mega Man as well, apparently he has a really dark shift and causes this like Age of Calamity, which leads to Mega Man X. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Use exclamation mark Discord, you should be able to find it. If it still works. But yeah. With that being said, this won't be a long stream because, no, thank you for joining, Rosary, I appreciate it. No, yeah, this won't be a long stream, just because, what was it now? What was it? Yeah, no, what happened was is that, this was meant to be yesterday, and it's late now, so I'm just gonna chill out there. No worries. See you in a bit, Rosary. Yeah, no, it's gonna have a nice chill evening now, just for about an hour or so. Let's get on with it. I'm just gonna turn the ambient noise off a little bit. So, yeah, feel free to sit back, relax, have me on in the background, and we'll just get on with the show. So, yeah, as you can see from the thing at the top here, the title, we are starting on chapter 6 today. That's where we got to last time. Last time, we got introduced to Bambi, his mother, his auntie, and the cousins, I guess they were. But also importantly, the end of last stream for Bambi, we got introduced. Bambi saw what they simply referred to as he, this thing that they are afraid of, which we can only imagine to be man. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Also, by the way, I found out just early today that apparently deer can be carnivorous if they need to be. So keep that in mind. Like, they'll eat birds and shit. Yeah, keep that in mind. Haha. Anyway. Bambi was often alone now, but he was not so troubled about it as he had been the first time. His mother would disappear, and no matter how much he called her, she wouldn't come back. Later, she would appear unexpectedly and stay with him as before. One night, he was roaming around, quite forlorn again. He could not even find Gobbo and Faline. The sky had become pale grey, and it began to darken so that the treetops seemed like a vault over the bushy undergrowth. There was a swishing in the bushes. A loud rustling came through the leaves, and Bambi's mother dashed out. Someone else raced close behind her. Bambi did not know whether it was Aunt Anna, or his father, or someone else. But he recognized his mother at once. Though she rushed past him quickly, he had recognized her voice. She screamed, and it seemed to Bambi as if it were in play, though he thought it sounded a little frightened too. One day, Bambi wandered for hours through the thicket. At last he began to call. He simply couldn't bear to be so utterly forlorn any more. He felt that pretty soon he'd be perfectly miserable. So he began to call for his mother. Suddenly, one of the fathers was standing in front of him, looking sternly down at him. Bambi hadn't heard him coming and was terrified. The stag looked more powerful than the others, taller and prouder. His coat shone with a deeper, richer red, but his face shimmered, silver grey. And tall, black, beaded antlers rose high above his nervous ears. "What are you crying about?" the old stag asked severely. Bambi trembled in awe. I did not dare to answer. "Your mother has no time for you now," the old stag went on. Bambi was completely dominated by his masterful voice, and at the same time, he admired it. "Can't you stay by yourself? Shame on you." Bambi wanted to say that he was perfectly able to stay by himself, that he had often been left alone already, but he could not get it out. He was obedient, and he felt terribly ashamed. The stag turned around and was gone. Bambi didn't know where or how, or whether the stag had gone slow or fast. He had simply gone, as suddenly as he had come. Bambi strained his ears to listen, but he could not catch the sound of a departing footstep, or a leaf stirring. So he thought the old stag must be somewhere close by, and snuffed the air in all directions. It brought him no scent. Bambi sighed with relief to think he was alone, but he felt a lively desire to see the old stag again, and win his approval. When his mother came back, he did not tell her anything of his encounter. He did not call her anymore either the next time. He did not call her anymore either the next time she disappeared. He thought of the old stag while he wandered around. He wanted very much to meet him. He wanted to say to him, "See, I don't call my mother anymore," so the old stag would praise him. But he told Gobbo and Faline the next time they were together on the meadow. They listened attentively, and had nothing to relate that could compare with this. "Weren't you frightened?" asked Gobbo excitedly. Oh, well, Bambi confessed he had been frightened, but only a little. "I should have been terribly frightened," Gobbo declared. Bambi replied no. He hadn't been very much afraid, because the stag was so handsome. "Oh, that wouldn't have helped me much," Gobbo added. "I'd have been too afraid to look at him. Oh, when I'm frightened, I have streaks before my eyes so that I can't see at all, and my heart beats so fast I can't breathe." Faline became very thoughtful after Bambi's story and did not say anything. But the next time they met, Gobbo and Faline bounded up in great haste. They were alone again, and so was Bambi. "We've been hunting for you all this time," cried Gobbo. "Yes," Faline said importantly, "because now we know who it was you saw." Bambi bounded in the air for curiosity and asked, "Who?" Faline said solemnly. "It was the old prince." "Who told you that?" Bambi demanded. "Our mother," Faline replied. Bambi was amazed. "Did you tell her the whole story?" They both nodded. "But it was a secret!" Bambi cried angrily. Gobbo tried to shield himself at once. I didn't do it. It was Faline," he said. But Faline cried excitedly, "What do you mean, a secret? I wanted to know who it was. Now we all know, and it's much more exciting." Bambi was burning up with desire to hear all about it, and let himself be mollified. Faline told him everything. "The old prince is the biggest stag in the whole forest. There isn't anybody else that compares with him. Nobody knows how old he is. Nobody can find out where he lives. No one knows his family. Very few have seen him even once. At times, he was thought to be dead because he hadn't been seen for so long. Then someone would see him again for a second, and so they knew he was still alive. Nobody had ever dared ask him where he had been. He speaks to nobody, and no one dares speak to him. He uses trails none of the others ever use. He knows the very depths of the forest, and he does not know such a thing as danger. Other princes fight one another at times, sometimes in fun or to try each other out, sometimes in earnest. For many years, no one has fought with the old stag. And of those who fought with him long ago, not one is living. He is the great prince." Bambi forgave Gobbo and Faline for babbling his secret to their mother. He was even glad to have found out all these important things, but he was glad that Gobbo and Faline did not know all about it. They did not know that the great prince had said, "Can't you stay by yourself? Shame on you!" No, Bambi was very glad that he had not told them about these things, for then Gobbo and Faline would have told that along with the rest, and the whole forest would have gossiped about it. That night, when the moon rose, Bambi's mother came back again. He suddenly saw her standing under the great oak at the edge of the meadow, looking around for him. He saw her right away, and ran to her. That night, Bambi learned something new. His mother was tired and hungry. They did not walk as far as usual. The mother quieted her hunger on the meadow where Bambi too was used to eating most of his meals. Side by side they nibbled at the bushes, and, pleasantly ruminating, went farther and farther into the woods. Presently, there was a loud rustling in the bushes. Before Bambi could guess what it was, his mother began to cry aloud, as if she did when she was very terrified, or when she was beside herself. "Oh!" she cried, and giving a bound, stopped and cried, "Oh, Bo!" Bambi tried to make out the mighty forms that were drawing near as the rustling grew louder. They were right near now. They resembled Bambi and Bambi's mother, Aunt Enna and all the rest of his family, but they were gigantic and so powerfully built that he stared up at them overcome. Suddenly, Bambi began to bleat. "Oh, Mama!" He hardly knew he was bleating. He couldn't help himself. The procession trampled slowly by. 3, 4 giant apparitions, one after the other. The last of them was the biggest of any of the others. He had a wild mane on his neck, and his antlers were tree-like. It took Bambi's breath away to see them. He stood and bleated from a heart full of wonder, for he was more weirdly affected than ever before in his life. He was afraid. But in a peculiar way, he felt how pitifully small he was, and even his mother seemed to have shrunk to him. He felt ashamed, without understanding why, and at the same time, terror shook him. He bleated, "Ma! Ma!" He felt better when he bleated that away. The procession had gone by. There was nothing more to see. There was nothing more to be seen or heard. Even his mother was silent. Only Bambi kept giving short bleats now and then. He still felt the shock. "Be still," his mother said. "They have gone now." "Oh, Mother," Bambi whispered. "Who was it?" "Well," said his mother, "they are not so dangerous when all is said and done. Those are your big cousins, the elk. They are strong and they are important. Far stronger than we are." "And aren't they dangerous?" Bambi asked. "Not as a rule," his mother explained. "Of course, a good many things are said to have happened. This and that is told about them, but I don't know if there is any truth in such gossip or not. They've never done any harm to me or to any one of my acquaintances." "Why should they do anything to us?" asked Bambi. If they are cousins of ours." He wanted to feel calm, but he kept trembling. "Oh, they never do anything to us," his mother answered. "But I don't know why. I'm frightened whenever I see them. I don't understand it myself. But it happens that way every time." Bambi was gradually reassured by her words, but he remained thoughtful. Right above him in the branches of an alder, the screech owl was hooting in his blood-curdling way. Bambi was distracted, and forgot to act as if he had been frightened. But the screech of the owl flew by anyhow, and asked, "Didn't I frighten you?" "Of course," Bambi replied. "You always frighten me." The screech owl chuckled softly. He was pleased. "I hope you don't hold it against me," he said. "It's just my way." He fluffed himself up so that he resembled a ball, sank his bill into his foamy white feathers, and put on a terribly wise and serious face. He was satisfied with himself. Bambi poured out his heart to him. "Do you know," he began shyly, "I just had such a much worse fright." "Indeed," said the owl, displeased. Bambi told him about his encounter with his giant relations. "Don't talk to me about relations," the owl exclaimed. "I've got relations too, but I only fly around in the daytime, so they're all down on me now. No, there isn't much use in relations. If they're bigger than you are, they're no good to you. And if they're smaller, they're worth still less. If they're bigger than you can't bear them because they're proud. And if they're smaller, they can't bear you because you're proud. No, I prefer to have nothing to do with the whole crowd." "But I don't even know my relations," Bambi said, laughing shyly. "I've never heard of them. I never saw them before today." "Don't bother about such people," the screech owl advised. "Believe me," and he rolled his eyes significantly. "Believe me, it's the best way. Relatives are never as good as friends. Look at us. We're not related in any way, but we're good friends. And that's much better." Bambi wanted to say something else, but the screech owl went on. "I've had experience of such things. You're still too young, but believe me, I know better. Besides, I don't like to get mixed up in family affairs." He rolled his eyes thoughtfully and looked so impressive with his serious face that Bambi kept a discreet silence. End of the chapter there. I am curious about how the difference in relation between elk and deer. Are just elk like a larger deer? I don't know. I don't really understand them. I don't understand what the difference is between them in terms of physiology as well. If there even is one. Who knows? Who knows? Certainly not I. Certainly not I. But yeah. Let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 7. Yeah. Another night passed, and morning brought an event. So I'm gonna have another water actually. Another night passed, and morning brought an event. It was a cloudless morning, dewy and fresh. All the leaves on the trees and the bushes seemed suddenly to smell sweeter. The meadows sent up great clouds of perfume to the treetops. "Peep," said the titmice when they awoke. They said it very softly, but since it was still grey dawn, they said nothing else for a while. For a time, it was perfectly still. Then a crow's hoarse, rasping caw sounded far above in the sky. The crows had awakened and were visiting one another in the treetops. The magpie answered at once. Did you think I was still asleep?" Then 100 small voices started in very softly here and there. Beep, beep, choo. Sleep and the dark were still in these sounds, and they came from far apart. Suddenly a blackbird flew to the top of a beech. She perched way up on the topmost twig that stuck up thin against the sky, and sat there, watching how, far away over the trees, the night-weary, pale grey heavens were glowing in the distant east and coming to life. Then she commenced to sing. Her little black body seemed only a tiny dark speck at the distance. She looked like a dead leaf. But she poured out her song in a great flood of rejoicing and through the whole forest, and everything began to stir. The finches warbled, the little red-throat and the goldfinch were heard, the doves rushed from place to place with a loud clapping and rustling of wings. The pheasants cackled as though their throats would burst, the noise of their wings as they flew from the roosts to the ground was soft but powerful. They kept uttering their metallic, splintering call with its soft, ensuing chuckle. Far above, the falcons cried sharply and joyously. The sun rose. The yellow bird rejoiced. He flew to and from among the branches, and his round yellow body flashed in the morning light like a winged ball of gold. Bambi walked under the great oak on the meadow. It sparkled with dew. It smelled of grass and flowers and moist earth, and whispered of 1,000 living things. Friend Hare was there, and seemed to be thinking over something important. A haughty pheasant strutted slowly by, nibbling at the grass seeds and peering cautiously in all directions. The dark metallic blue of his neck gleamed in the sun. One of the princes was standing close to Bambi. Bambi had never seen any of the fathers so close before. The stag was standing right in front of him, and next to the hazel bush was somewhat hidden by the branches. No, and was somewhat hidden by the branches. My apologies. Bambi did not move. He wanted the prince to come out completely, and was wondering whether he dared speak to him. He wanted to ask his mother and looked around for her, but his mother had already gone away and was standing some distance off, beside Aunt Enna. At the same time, Gobbo and Falling came running out of the woods. Bambi was still thinking it over without staring. If he went up to his mother and the others now, he would have to pass by the prince. He felt as if he couldn't do it. Oh well, he thought. I don't have to ask my mother first. The old prince spoke to me, and I didn't tell mother anything about it. I'll say, "Good morning, prince." He can't be offended by that. But if he does get angry, I'll run away fast. Bambi struggled with his resolve, which began to waver again. Presently, the prince walked out from behind the hazel bush and onto the meadow. Now, thought Bambi. Then there was a crash like thunder. Bambi shrank and didn't know what had happened. He saw the prince leap into the air under his very nose and watched him rush past him into the forest with one great bound. Bambi looked around in a daze. The thunder still vibrated. He saw his mother and Aunt Enna, Gobbo and Falling fled into the woods. He saw how friend Hare scurried away like mad. He saw the pheasant running with his neck outstretched. He noticed that the forest grew suddenly still. He started and sprang into the thicket. He had made only a few bounds when he saw the prince lying on the ground in front of him, motionless. Bambi stopped horrified, not understanding what it meant. The prince lay bleeding from a great wound in his shoulder. He was dead. "Don't stop!" a voice behind him commanded. It was his mother, who rushed past him at full gallop. "Run!" she cried. "Run as fast as you can!" She did not slow down, but raced ahead, and her command brought Bambi after her. He ran with all his might. "What is it, mother?" he asked. "What is it, mother?" His mother answered between gasps. "It was he." Bambi shuddered, and they ran on. At last they stopped for a lack of breath. "What did you say?" "Tell me what it was you said," a soft voice called down from overhead. Bambi looked up. The squirrel came chattering through the branches. "I ran the whole way with you," he cried. "It was dreadful." "Were you there?" asked the mother. "Of course I was there," the squirrel replied. "I'm still trembling at every limb." He sat erect, balancing with his splendid tail, displaying his small white chest, and holding his forepaws protestingly against his body. "I'm beside myself with excitement," he said. "I'm quite weak from the fright myself," said the mother. "I don't understand it. Not one of us saw a thing." "Is that so?" the squirrel said pettishly. "I saw him long before." "So did I," another voice cried. It was the magpie. She flew past and settled on a branch. "So did I," came a croak from above. It was the jay, who was sitting on an ash. A couple of crows in the treetops called harshly, "We saw him too." They all sat around, talking importantly. They were unusually excited and seemed to be full of anger and fear. Whom, Bambi thought, whom did they see? "I tried my best," the squirrel was saying, pressing his forepaws against his heart. "I tried my best to warn the poor prince." "And I?" the jay asked. "How often did I scream? But he didn't care to hear me." "Oh, he didn't hear me either," the magpie croaked. "I called him at least 10 times. I wanted to fly right past him, for I thought he hasn't heard me yet. I'll fly to the hazel bush where he's standing. You can't help hearing me there." But at that minute, it happened. "My voice is probably louder than yours, and I warned him as well as I could," the crow said in an impudent tone. "But gentlemen of that stamp pay little attention to the likes of us." "Much too little, really," the squirrel agreed. "Well, we did what we could," said the magpie. "We're certainly not to blame when an accident happens." "Oh, such a handsome prince," the squirrel lamented, "and in the very prime of life." "Ugh," croaked the jay. "It would have been better for him if he hadn't been so proud and had paid more attention to us." "Oh, he certainly was proud." No more so than the other princes of his family," the magpie put in. "Just plain stupid," sneered the jay. "You're stupid yourself," the crow cried down from overhead. "Don't you talk about stupidity. The whole forest knows how stupid you are." "If I," replied the jay, stiff with astonishment, "nobody can accuse me of being stupid. I may be forgetful, but I'm certainly not stupid." "Oh, just as you please," said the crow solemnly. "Forget what I said to you. But remember that the prince did not die because he was proud or stupid, but because no one can escape him." "Ah!" croaked the jay. "I don't like that kind of talk." He flew away. The crow went on. "He's already outwitted many of my family. He kills what he wants. Nothing can help us. You have to be on your guard against him." "You have to be on your guard against him," the magpie broke in. "You certainly do," said the crow sadly. "Goodbye." He flew off, his family accompanying him. Bambi looked around. His mother was no longer there. What are they talking about now? Thought Bambi. I can't understand what they're talking about. Who is this he they talk about? That was he too, that I saw in the bushes. But he didn't kill me. Bambi thought of the prince lying in front of him, with his bloody, mangled shoulder. He was dead now. Bambi walked along. The forest sang again with 1,000 voices. The sun pierced the treetops with its broad rays. There was light everywhere. The leaves began to smell. Far above the falcons called. Close at hand, a woodpecker hammered as if nothing had happened. Bambi was not happy. He felt himself threatened by something dark. He did not understand how the others could be so carefree and happy, while life was so difficult and dangerous. Then the desire seized him to go deeper and deeper into the woods. They lured him into their depths. He wanted to find some hiding place where, shielded on all sides by impenetrable thickets, he would never be seen. He never wanted to go to the meadow again. Something moved very softly in the bushes. Bambi drew back violently. The old stag was standing in front of him. Bambi trembled. He wanted to run away, but he controlled himself and remained. The old stag looked at him with his great deep eyes and asked, "Were you out there before?" "Yes." Bambi said softly. His heart was pounding in his throat. "Where is your mother?" asked the stag. Bambi answered still, very softly. "I don't know." The old stag kept gazing at him. "And still you're not calling for her?" he said. Bambi looked into the noble, iron-grey face, looked at the stag's antlers, and suddenly felt full of courage. "I can stay by myself too," he said. The old stag considered him for a while. Then he asked gently, "Aren't you the little one that was crying for his mother not long ago?" Bambi was somewhat embarrassed, but his courage held. "Yes, I am," he confessed. The old stag looked at him in silence, and it seemed to Bambi as if those deep eyes gazed still more mildly. "You scolded me then, Prince," he cried excitedly, "because I was afraid of being left alone. Since then, I haven't." The stag looked at Bambi appraisingly and smiled, a very slight, hardly noticeable smile. Bambi noticed it, however. "Noble Prince," he asked confidently, "what has happened? I don't understand it. Who is this he they are all talking about?" He stopped, terrified by the dark glance that bade him be silent. Another pause ensued. The old stag was gazing past Bambi into the distance. Then he said slowly, "Listen, smell, and see for yourself. Find out for yourself." He lifted his antlered head still higher. "Farewell," he said. Nothing else. Then he vanished. Bambi stood transfixed and wanted to cry, but that farewell still rang in his ears and sustained him. "Farewell," the old stag had said, so he couldn't have been angry. Bambi felt himself thrill with pride, felt inspired with a deep earnestness. Yes, life was difficult and full of danger, but come what might, he would learn to bear it all. He walked slowly, deeper into the forest. That was a cool chapter. I like that. You can't see it here, but there's a very nice image of like Bambi talking with the squirrel and the jay and the magpie and the crows, and you can see on this art that the picture here that Bambi's horns are starting to grow in, which is really cool. He's a teenager now. Yeah. Chapter 8's a long chapter. Chapter 8's a very short chapter. Let's see. Let's go on with this and see what time we're on. Okay. Chapter 8. Let's have another sip of water. The leaves were falling from the great oak at the meadow's edge. They were falling from all the trees. One branch of the oak reached high above the others, and stretched far out over the meadow. Two leaves clung to its very tip. "It isn't the way it used to be," said one leaf to the other. "No," the other leaf answered. "So many of us have fallen off tonight. We're almost the only ones left on our branch." "Never know who's going to go next," said the first leaf. "Even when it was warm and the sun shone, or a storm or a cloudburst would come sometimes, many leaves were torn off. Now they were still young. You never know who's going to go next. The sun seldom shines now inside the second leaf. And when it does, it gives no warmth. We must have warmth again. Can it be true, said the first leaf? Can it really be true that others come to take our place when we're gone, and after them, still others more and more? It is really true, whispered the second leaf. We can't even begin to imagine it. It's beyond our powers. They were silent a while. Then the first leaf said quietly to herself, Why must we fall? The second leaf asked, What happens to us when we fall and we sink down? What is under us? The first leaf answered, I don't know. Some say one thing, some another, but nobody knows. The second leaf asked, Do we feel anything? Do we know anything about ourselves when we're down there? The first leaf answered, Who knows? Not one of all these down there has ever come back to tell us about it. They were silent again. And the first leaf said tenderly to the other, Don't worry so much about it. You're trembling. Oh, it's nothing, the second leaf answered. I tremble at the least thing now. I don't feel so sure of my hold as I used to. Let's not talk any more about such things, said the first leaf. The other replied, No, we'll be let out. But what else shall we do? What else shall we talk about? She was silent, but went on after a little while. Oh, I guess they're both girls in here. Which of us will go first? There's still plenty of time to worry about that, the other leaf assured her. Let's remember how beautiful it was, how wonderful when the sun came out and shone so warmly that we thought we'd burst with life. Do you remember? And the morning dew? And the mild and splendid nights? Now the nights are dreadful, the second leaf complained, and there is no end to them. We shouldn't complain, said the first leaf gently. We've outlived many, many others. Have I changed much? Asked the second leaf shyly, but determinedly. Not in the least, the first leaf assured her. You only think so because I've got to be so yellow and ugly. But it's different in your case. You're fooling me, the second leaf said. Oh, really? The first leaf exclaimed eagerly. Believe me, you're as lovely as the day you were born. Here and there may be a little yellow spot, but it's hardly noticeable. It only makes you handsomer, believe me. Thanks, whispered the second leaf, quite touched. I don't believe you, not altogether. But I thank you because you're so kind. You've always been so kind to me. I'm just beginning to understand how kind you are. Hush, said the other leaf, and kept silent herself, for she too was troubled to talk any more. Then they were both silent. Hours passed. A moist wind blew, cold and hostile, through the treetops. Ah, now, said the second leaf, Then her voice broke off. She was torn from her place and spun down. Winter had come. What an interesting way to look at death. Death from the eyes of leaves. That was beautiful. That was really lovely, honestly. That was earnestly so cute, but sad. We could do chapter 9. It does appear to be quite a long one. Ends on chapter page 109. Let's go for it. Sure. Because that was only very short anyway, so. Bambi noticed that the world was changed. It was hard for him to get used to this altered world. They'd all lived like rich folk and now had fallen upon hard times. For Bambi knew nothing of but abundance. He took it for granted that he would always have plenty to eat. He thought he would never need to be troubled about food. He believed he would always sleep in the lovely green-leafed glade where no one would see him, and would always go about in his smooth, handsome, glossy red coat. Now everything was changed, without his having noticed the change take place. The process that was ending had seemed only a series of episodes to him. It pleased him to see the milk-white veils of mist steam from the meadow in the morning, or drop suddenly from the grey sky at dawn. They vanished so beautifully in the sunshine. The hoarfrost that covered the meadow with such dazzling whiteness delighted him, too. Sometimes he liked to listen to his big cousins, the elk. The whole forest would tremble with their kingly voices. Bambi used to listen and be very much frightened, but his heart would beat high with admiration when he heard them calling. He remembered that the kings had antlers branching like tall, strong trees, and it seemed to him that their voices were as powerful as their antlers. Whenever he had heard the deep tones of those voices, he would stand motionless. Their deep voices rolled toward him like the mighty moaning of noble, maddened blood, whose primal power was giving utterance to a longing rage and pride. Bambi struggled in vain against his fears. They overpowered him whenever he heard those voices. He was proud to have such noble relatives. At the same time, he felt a strange sense of annoyance because they were so unapproachable. It offended and humiliated him without him knowing exactly how or why, even without his being particularly conscious of it. Just need to stretch my back a second. Okay, sorry about that. It was only after the mating season had passed, and the thunder of the stag's mighty voices had grown still, that Bambi began to notice other things once more. Oh wait, do stags mate in elk mate in the winter? Huh. Interesting. Okay. At night, when he roamed through the forest or by day, as he lay in the glade, he heard the falling leaves whisper among the trees. They fluttered and rustled ceaselessly through the air from all the treetops and branches. A delicate, silvery sound was falling constantly to earth. It was wonderful to awaken amidst it, wonderful to fall asleep to this mysterious and melancholy whispering. Soon the leaves lay thick and loose on the ground, and when you walked through them, they flew about, softly rustling. It was joy to push them aside with every step. They were piled so high, it made a sound like shh, shh, soft and very clear and silvery. Besides, it was very useful, for Bambi had to be particularly careful these days to hear and smell everything. And with the leaves you could hear everything far off. They rustled at the slightest touch and cried shh, shh. Nobody could steal through them. But when the rain came, it poured down from early morning till late at night. Sometimes it rained all night, long and into the following day. It would stop for a while, and begin again with fresh strength. The air was damp and cold, the whole world seemed full of rain. If you tried to nibble a little meadow grass, you got your mouth full of water, or if you tugged the least little bit at a bow, a whole torrent of water poured into your eyes and nose. The leaves no longer rustled. They lay pale and soggy on the ground, flattened by the rain, and made no sounds. Bambi discovered for the first time how unpleasant it is to be rained on all day and all night until you were soaked to the skin. There had not even been a frost yet, but he longed for the warm weather and felt it was a sad business to have to run around soaked through. But when the north wind blew, Bambi found out what cold is. It wasn't much help to nestle close to his mother. Of course, at first he thought it was wonderful to lie there and keep one side warm at least, but the north wind raged through the forest all day and all night. It seemed to be driven to madness by some incomprehensible ice-cold fury, as though it wanted to tear up the forest by its roots, or annihilate it somehow. The trees groaned in stubborn resistance. They struggled mightily against the wind's fierce onslaught. You could hear the long-drawn moans, their sigh-like creakings, the loud snap when their limbs split, the angry cracking when now and again a trunk broke, and the vanquished tree seemed to shriek from every wound in its rent and dying body. Nothing else could be heard. For the storm swooped down still more fiercely on the forest, and its roaring drowned all lesser noises. Then Bambi knew that want and hardship had come. He knew how much the rain and wind had changed the world. There was no longer a leaf on a tree or shrubs, but all stood there as though violated, their bodies naked for all to see. And they lifted their bare brown limbs to the sky for the pity. The grass on the meadow was withered and shortened, as if it had sunk into the earth. Even the glade seemed wretched and bare. Since the leaves had fallen, it was no longer possible to lie so well hidden as before. The glade was open on all sides. One day, as a young magpie flew over the meadow, something cold and white fell in her eye. Then it fell again, and again. She felt as if a little veil were drawn across her eye, while the small, pale, blinding white flakes danced around her. The magpie hesitated in her flight, fluttered a little, and then soared straight up into the air. In vain. The cold white flakes were everywhere, and got into her eyes again. She kept flying straight up, soaring higher. "Don't put yourself out so much, dearie," a crow who was flying above her in the same direction called down. "Don't put yourself out so much. You can't fly high enough to get outside these flakes. This is snow." "Snow!" cried the magpie in surprise, struggling against the drizzle. "That's about the size of it," said the crow. "It's winter, and this is snow." "Excuse me," the magpie replied, "but I only left the nest in May. I don't know anything about winter." "Oh, there are plenty in the same boat," the crow remarked, "but you'll soon find out." "Oh, well," said the magpie, "if this is snow, I guess I'll sit down for a while." She perched on an elder and shook herself. The crow flew awkwardly away. At first, Bambi was delighted with the snow. The air was calm and mild. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Lemmy. No, Lemmy, why are you apologizing? Don't worry about it. Lemmy, do not worry about it at all. Thank you for coming by. This is only a short stream today. We're going to be finishing up in a little bit, but we still have this chapter to finish, so don't worry. Just to catch you up, Lemmy, Bambi has experienced what death is, as an elder prince of the forest, one of the stags, has been killed by he. Who is he? We do not know. But he has killed one of the stags. And now it is winter. It is winter now, and we are just experiencing the passing of the seasons and the cold. I'll just start beginning this paragraph, actually. Maybe it's Michael Jackson. Maybe. I think this was written before he was alive, actually, so probably not. But, At first, Bambi was delighted with the snow. The air was calm and mild, while the white snow stars whirled down, and the world looked completely different. It had grown lighter, gayer, Bambi thought. And whenever the sun came out for a little while, everything shone, and the white covering flashed and sparkled so brightly that it blinded you. But Bambi soon stopped being pleased with the snow, for it grew harder and harder to find food. He had to paw the snow away with endless labour before he could find one withered little blade of grass. The snow crust cut his legs, and he was afraid of cutting his feet. Gobbo had already cut his. Of course, Gobbo was the kind who couldn't stand anything and was a constant source of trouble to his mother. The deer were always together now, and were much more friendly than before. Enna brought her children constantly. Lately, Marina, a half-grown doe, had joined the circle. But old Nettler really contributed most to their entertainment. She was quite a self-sufficient person and had her own ideas about everything. "No," she would say, "I don't bother with the children any more. I've had enough of that particular joke." Faline asked, "What difference does it make if they're a joke?" And Nettler would act as if she were angry and say, "They're a bad joke, and I've had enough of them." They got along perfectly together. They would sit side by side gossiping. The young ones had never had a chance to hear so much. Even one or another of the princes would join them now. At first, things went somewhat stiffly, especially since the children were a little shy. But that soon changed, and they got along very well together. Bambi admired Prince Ronno, who was a stately lord, and he passionately loved the handsome young Carus. They had dropped their horns, and Bambi looked at the two slate-grey round spots that showed smooth and shimmering, with many delicate points on the princes' heads. They looked very noble. It was terribly interesting whenever one of the princes talked about him. Ronno had a thick, hide-covered swelling on his left forefoot. He limped on that foot, and used to ask sometimes, "Can you really see that I limp?" Everyone would hasten to assure him that there was not the trace of a limp. That was what Ronno wanted, and it really was hardly noticeable. "Yes," he would go on, "I saved myself from a tight corner that time." And then Ronno would tell how he had surprised him and hurled his fire at him, but had only struck his leg. It had driven him nearly mad with pain, and no wonder, since the bone was shattered. But Ronno did not lose his head. He was up and away on 3 legs. He pressed on in spite of his weakness, for he saw that he was being pursued. He ran without stopping until night came. Then he gave himself a rest. But he went on the next morning until he felt he was in safety. Then he took care of himself, living alone in hiding, waiting for his wound to heal. At last he came out once again, and was a hero. He limped, but he thought no one noticed it. They were often together now for long periods, and told many stories. Bambi heard more about him than ever before. They told how terrible he was to look at. No one could bear to look at his pale face. Bambi knew that already from his own experience. They spoke too about his smell, and again Bambi could have spoken if he had not been too well brought up to mix in his elders' conversations. They said that his smell differed each time, and in 100 subtle ways, and yet you could tell it in an instant, for it was always exciting, unfathomable, mysterious, and terrible. And they told how he used only 2 legs to walk with, and they spoke the amazing strength of his 2 hands. Some of them did not know what hands were. But when it was explained, old Nettler said, "I don't see anything so surprising in that. A squirrel can do everything you tell about just as well, and every little mouse can perform the same wonders." She turned away her head disdainfully. "Oh no," cried the others, and they gave her to understand that those were not the same things at all. But old Nettler was not to be cowed. "What about the falcon?" she exclaimed, "and the buzzard and the owl? They've only got 2 legs, and when they want to catch something, they simply stand on 1 leg and grab with the other. That's much harder, and he certainly can't do that." Old Nettler was not at all inclined to admire anything connected with him. She hated him with all her heart. "He is loathsome," she said, and she stuck to that. Besides, nobody contradicted her, since nobody liked him. But the talk grew more complicated when they told how he had a 3rd hand. Not 2 hands merely, but a 3rd hand. "That's an old story," Nettler said curtly. "I don't believe it." Is that so? Ronno broke in. Then what did he shatter my leg with? Can you tell me that? Old Nettler answered carelessly. That's your affair, my dear. He's never shattered any of mine. Aunt Enna said, I've seen a good deal in my time, and I think there's something in the story that he has a third hand. I agree with you, young Harris said politely. I have a friend, a crow. He paused, embarrassed for a moment, and then looked around at them, one after the other, as though he were afraid of being laughed at. But when he saw that they were listening attentively to him, he went on. This crow is unusually well informed. I must say that. Surprisingly well informed. And she says that he really has 3 hands, but not always. The third hand is the bad one, the crow says. It isn't attached like the other 2, but he carries it hanging over his shoulder. The crow says that she can always tell exactly when he, or anyone like him, is going to be dangerous. If he comes with a third hand, if he comes without the third hand, he isn't dangerous. Old Nettler laughed. Your crow's a blockhead. My dear Carus, she said. Tell her so for me. If she was clever as she thinks she is, she'd know that he's always dangerous. Always. The others had different objections. Bambi's mother said, Some of them aren't dangerous. You can see that at a glance. Is that so? Old Nettler asked. I suppose you stand still till they come up to you and wish you a good day? Bambi's mother answered. Of course I don't stand still. I run away. And Falion broke in with, You should always run away. Everybody laughed. But when they talked about the third hand, they became serious, and fear grew on them gradually. For whatever it might be, a third hand or something else, it was terrible. And they did not understand it. They only knew of it from others' stories. Few of them had ever seen it for themselves. He would stand still, far off, and never move. You couldn't explain what he did or how it happened. But suddenly, there would be a crash, like thunder. Fire would shoot out from far away. From him. You would drop down, dying with your breast torn open. They all sat bound while they all talked about him, as though they felt the presence of some dark and unknown power controlling them. They listened curiously to the many stories that were always horrible, full of blood and suffering. They listened tirelessly to everything that was said about him. Tales that were certainly invented. All the stories and sayings that had come down from their fathers and their great-grandfathers. Each one of them, they were unconsciously seeking shelter for some way to propitiate this dark power, or some way to escape it. What difference does it make? Young Karis asked despondently. How far away he is when he kills you. Didn't your clever crow explain that to you? Old Nettler mocked. No, said Karis with a smile. She says that she's often seen him, but no one can explain him. Yes, he knocks the crows out from the trees too when he wants to, Ronald observed. And he brings down the pheasant on the wing, Aunt Enna added. Bambi's mother said, He throws his hand at you. My grandmother told me so. Is that so? Asked old Nettler. What is it that bangs so terribly then? That's when he tears his hand off, Bambi's mother explained. Then the fire flashes and the thunder cracks. He's all fire inside. Excuse me, said Ronno. It's true that he's all fire inside. But that about his hand is wrong. A hand couldn't make such wounds. You can see that for yourself. It's much more likely that it's a tooth he throws at us. A tooth would explain a great many things, you know. You really die from his bite. Will he ever stop hunting us? Young Karis sighed. Then Mariner spoke. the young half-grown doe. They say that sometime he'll come to live with us and be as gentle as we are. He'll play with us, and the whole forest will be happy, and we'll be friends with him. Old Nettler burst out laughing. Let him stay where he is and leave us in peace, she said. Aunt Enna said reprovingly. You shouldn't talk that way. And why not? Old Nettler replied hotly. I really don't see why not. Friends with him. He's murdered us ever since we can remember. Every one of us. Our sisters, our mothers, our brothers. Ever since we came into the world, he's given us no peace. But he has killed us wherever we showed our heads. And now we're going to be friends with him? What nonsense. Mariner looked at all of them with her big, calm, shining eyes. Love is no nonsense, she said. It has to come. Old Nettler turned away. I'm going to look for something to eat, she said, and trotted off. Oh, and that's the end of the chapter. Thank you for the congratulations there, Buster. Yeah, apparently it's a affiliate anniversary, I guess. I didn't know that. I don't know when I started streaming even, actually. When did that happen? Who knows? Certainly not I. We're learning a bit more about their relationship, though, now, with the mysterious he. And, well, the relationship with the other deer, actually. It's nice to see them actually interacting with the princes for a change. But yeah. No, yeah, Lemmy is, apparently it's my affiliate anniversary today. I didn't even know about it. I found out when I just opened up... Excuse me. When I opened up OBS. I don't know if there's anything worth celebrating for anyway. Yeah, thank you there, Lemmy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know if it's anything worth celebrating. Isn't feeling like... Okay, I remember when I first got it, it was like a big accomplishment. Like, what are the requirements to meet it? Again, you need to have at least 100 followers, I think. And, like, you need to have, like, an average watch time, average viewer count of, like, 3 viewers or something like that. So, yeah. And that's certainly probably gone down since. Though I guess it depends on what I'm doing. And I remember a lot of it came from, like, Guilty Gear Strive streams. And now I'm just kind of so done with Guilty Gear Strive, just because it's really... Oh god, the game annoys me. Let's put some tunes back on. Yeah. I don't really play a lot of Guilty Gear Strive anymore. Yeah, I mean, there's new characters came out. I've not tried it out at all. I'm just like, I'm not interested. The game still has nothing for me. No new character's going to change that. I'm going to watch the anime coming out, though. Dual Rulers, that's coming out soon. So I'm going to watch that. Hopefully that's decent. But, yeah. Yeah, we're going to leave Bambi there for today. End of chapter 10. But yeah, no, thank you so much for the congratulations, folks, who've come in. Thank you to anyone who's come by today. Yeah, I did want to stream more this week. I just got sick yesterday. I would have streamed Mystery Dungeon earlier today otherwise, but, no, sorry about that, folks. I'll make sure to do another Mystery Dungeon stream next week, then. I still need to do Okami. I've not been practicing the Okami one recently. I got stuck on a trick and I've not gone back to it since because I got stuck on it really badly. So, yeah. But yeah, we're going to see how it goes. Well, okay, I'll keep trying that off stream. I guess I just need to get back into the groove of it. But, yeah. No, thank you so much for the congratulations, folks. Probably... I don't know if we're streaming on Monday. I think I'll be doing Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday this week, maybe? That sounds good? Yeah. The coming week, maybe. And maybe we'll do Monday as well. Maybe we'll do like a small stream on Monday. I don't know. I'll see how I'm feeling. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't have much to say at the moment, I guess. I'm kind of tired out now, honestly. It's like getting late. It's like 10 past 10 over here, almost quarter past 10. Which, I know it isn't super late, but honestly, I think for streaming, for me, it's pretty late, so, yeah. I know some people are like, oh, I'll start at 7 in the evening and go to, like, 12 at night. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, because I want to have some of the evening to, like, rest to myself, you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway. I'll post a schedule in the Discord. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Keep well, stay safe, eat lots of good food. I had a good meal today. I went out to a restaurant for Mother's Day, but not because I'm a mother. I know I look heavily pregnant, but you can. I mean, the waist is pretty snatched, don't you think? Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful night, everyone. Have a good one. Keep well. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye. Actually, hang on, wait. Is there anyone to raid? Let me just double check. Is anyone on to raid? Maybe not. Maybe not who I know. Actually, I had a VTuber acquaintance who like retired, graduated just recently, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. But I sent them a message and said, hey, I didn't know about this because I don't use Twitter that much, but thank you so much for being so nice to me all this time. I didn't speak to them that much, but all our interactions were just honestly very lovely. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know what? We'll bother with the raid. It's okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for coming by. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, afternoon. Keep well, stay safe, and yeah, have a good one. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye. Oh, hang on. Wait, no. Hiragi Emiru is on. I'll raid her. Yeah. She's really cute. I like her a lot. And I think more people should know about her because she's fun. I think she's doing some violin at the moment. Well, she's also learning about Warhammer, which is pretty based. Hiragi Emi. Oh, hang on. Slash. Raid. Hiragi. Yeah, oh, I spelled that wrong. God damn it. Hiragi Emily. Coolio. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good night. See you later. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye. Bye.